But first, breaking tonight, President Trump says his attorney general should release whatever documents she thinks are credible concerning the late businessman and convicted sexual predator, Jeffrey Epstein. It's his latest comment in the ongoing controversy that has split many of the president's supporters. Meanwhile, there is new pressure tonight on Attorney General Pam Bondi from an unlikely spot, the top Republican in the House, the Speaker. Correspondent David Spahn has the story for us tonight. Good evening, David. I mean, this story does not go away here.
It's really not right now, at least, Brett. And Attorney General Pam Bondi is breaking her silence on this Epstein matter following a week of intense blowback from the MAGA base. She says, though, she's staying put despite calls for her to go.
I'm going to be here for as long as the president wants me here, and I believe he's made that crystal clear. It's 4 years, well, 3.5 now, right? Do you want anything else?
Bondi, at an unrelated event on fentanyl today, declined to expand on the reported fracture in her relationship with Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino, who threatened last week to quit over the DOJ's closure of the Epstein case with a 2-page memo.
I'm not going to discuss personnel matters. I think we all are committed to working together now to make America safe again, and that's what we're doing.
House Speaker Mike Johnson pushing Bondi to do a little bit more, though. Watch.
She needs to come forward and explain that to everybody. I like Pam. I mean, I think she's done a good job. We need the DOJ focusing on the major priorities. So let's get this thing resolved.
Well, today, President Trump, who's been tamping down the Epstein story and endorsing Pam Bondi, gave her some new latitude.
The Attorney General's handled that very well. She's really done a very good job. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release.
However, Jeffrey Epstein's former lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, says it may not be up to Bondi.
Many of the things that are being suppressed by 2 judges in Manhattan, and they're doing it largely to protect the alleged accusers who are, in the view of the judges, victims. Pam Bondi and the Justice Department and Donald Trump are not responsible for that.
Part of the reason Ghislaine Maxwell, former girlfriend and associate to Jeffrey Epstein, is appealing her conviction to the U.S. Supreme Court. But, Brett, the DOJ is asking the Supreme Court to deny Maxwell's review of the case and leave her in prison where she's serving a 20-year sentence for conspiring with Epstein in his abuse of underage girls. Brett?
But what's interesting is if Dershowitz is right, and it seems like he is pretty knowledgeable on this and has been a part of some of these cases, you wonder why the Attorney General is not saying all of that publicly, or the communication strategy here.
It's something that Dershowitz, yes, says it's up to 2 different judges. President Trump today, for the first time, we've heard him say that she has some more latitude to give out some more information. So we're going to see if she does provide some more information.
Hey, 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 guess what day? Guess what? Guess what day? Hey, 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 guess what day? Guess what? Guess what day? Guess what? No list. Guess what? No arrest. As if a million QAnon cried out in terror and suddenly silenced. But guess what? Guess what day it is? It's hump day. Hey, hey, hey. Guess what day? Guess what? Guess what day? Hey, hey, hey.
Not ready for this today. Not right. Well, do you want to talk about redlining? We are redlining it, baby. Today, back in the studio, back in action and locked in after, well, making a few waves in Washington, D.C. Today is Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. President Trump will speak live soon after calling for the release of the Epstein list. Release it all, says Trump, with a caveat. And we're going to talk about that caveat. Is it fair? I've thought about it. And we're going to get into it today. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin is on the program, rocking and rolling with another admin official on the show, along with Representative Andy Ogles, who's making a ton of news. And I hear we might have some other special guests on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see. Locking in today, and we're so thankful that you joined us yesterday with the Speaker of the House and 12 other members of Congress making huge international news. That is what this program is all about. Power to the people. It's your boy, Benny. And this is The Benny Show. Lock in. Make sure that you have power. And what power looks like in your bank account is diversifying outside of just, securities or American dollars. And you need assets in your account that actually generate wealth. Do you know what I mean? Like, so the number of dollars, they can just print more of them. So they're finite, and the value of the dollar has actually collapsed, like about close to 100% over the last 100 years. It's because you can just print more. You can't make more gold, and that's just a moneymaker in my account. I diversify, you know, you diversify a little bit and you got gold. It's just been great throughout all time. It's been great forever. That's why Trump covers his buildings in it. It's why it was a precious gift to the Christ child. And ladies and gentlemen, it should be a gift to yourself in your own bank account. Diversify into gold. Advantage gold, ladies and gentlemen. The dollar's dominance is certainly under attack. Gold is becoming the number one hedge against the global currency shifts. Your IRA or 401k can be converted into physical gold, tax and penalty free. And you can get $10,000 in free gold and silver with a qualifying account today. Friends at Advantage Gold take care of you. Text Benny to 85545. That's Benny to 85545, or go to AdvantageGold.com. AdvantageGold.com. Data and message rates apply. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. I love it when the cold, meaning the video that we play to start the show, includes a clip of ours. That's the goal of this company. And the goal of this company is to carry your voice deep into the heart of the halls of power, and to not be ashamed in asking questions, or not be told what questions we can and cannot ask. And that was really important. Just a really quick recap of yesterday and how we changed. Well, everything, actually, yesterday. And I guess, like, before we jump into the details and some highlight clips and so on, I want to, like, just very briefly set the table. Why is this important? Why this question about Jeffrey Epstein and his predator ring is important is because we don't want to pay taxes to the people who protect them. We're a moral people. We're an honest and good, salt of the earth, hardworking people. And we're proud of this country. And we don't like it when our federal authorities protect pederasts. That's the end. I mean, that's like the final question. And I think that the Trump administration has put themselves in a tough position here. I think it's totally self-inflicted. And I think that they're trying to work their way out of it, given the positive pressure from all of us. It never needed to happen this way, and it makes me very frustrated that it did. It's like a massive miscalculation of doing this, like, right now in this moment. It doesn't make any sense to me. It never will. But what does make sense to me, and what's very binary, and just say, call me a Luddite, okay? Call me whatever you want. Say that I'm dumb. I don't care. Everything that can be said has been said to me on the internet every day, every second of the day, in my DMs. I went to community college, but maybe that just, like, gives me the world in simple binaries. And the simple binary is that child predators are evil, and the people who enable them are evil, and the people who participate with them are evil, and that this is a class warfare question, actually. And that's really gets down deep into the bones of what's happening here. It's a class warfare question, and this is a moment of class warfare in this nation. The elites have gotten obscenely rich and have abused us. And we know that as a matter of fact. And that's true. And you should be against that. Like, it's not actually capitalistic at all. Being a good capitalist means that people should be able to, buy a home, right? Like, afford a house. Like, that's what I want for my children. And that's vanishingly, like, out of hand and out of reach for so many. And there are elites in our society that could care less about the lives of the hundreds of millions of regular people in this nation, of which I am and you are. And in fact, they abuse us. And they abuse us as tax cattle to fund their foreign wars. And they abuse us as sex slaves, like when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, who, according to all available documentation, sent Ghislaine Maxwell to go cruise trailer parks to go find broken women from broken homes to entrap them and abuse them, and then serially abuse them throughout the world. That's how the operation worked. It's well documented. That's what they did. They preyed on the working class. They preyed on people that were not born with the same privileges or had the same intelligence relationships as they did with domestic and foreign powers, that they could plunk millions of dollars into their bank accounts to go buy private jets and islands. Most people don't have that. Okay, nobody I know has that. And so we see this, like, the way that this is seen, the lens that this is seen from, and I'm trying to reorient this because I've thought, like, maybe the messaging isn't getting through. But actually the messaging is getting through, and we'll cover that in just a second. I need the recap tweet, please, boys, as quickly as possible. The message is getting through, in fact. But I'm going to do my level-headed best to just put it into a MAGA prism here, shall we? The MAGA prism has always been President Trump calling out the elites to their faces. The prism has always been Donald Trump looking into the skull of Hillary Clinton and going, you created ISIS. You created these wars. You're going to attack me for loopholes that you wrote. Donald Trump is the king of class warfare, even though he does come from quite a privileged class, meaning he is himself a billionaire. And it's the magic of Donald Trump to understand these issues. And so that's why we call out from the wilderness about them. And we try and explain what this is truly about. Maybe it hasn't been framed correctly for the president. I'm not sure. I don't know. But it's up to us to frame it and to make it make sense and to be ideologically consistent and to be pure, meaning like, does my opinion on this match the opinion that I had 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago? And the answer is yes. And the reason you can see that is that and we're just honored. It's not because I'm particularly smart. It's actually because I'm quite a simpleton, and I can just like see things in a simple binary. Like we just see the black and white here. We see it's spiritual warfare, and it's also class warfare. It's the elites versus us. It's then coming down here and abusing us, and abusing these poor, broken people who come from the same place you and I come from, right? I was raised near a lot of trailer parks. And I'm telling you, like, that them getting away with it is like the last straw for so many people. It's like the most in-your-face insult to the working class. It's the most in-your-face insult to all of us who have like calluses on our hands and dirt under our fingernails, and who build things and who work, in order to like make an honest dollar. It ain't much, but it's honest work. And so it's up to our show to go into the halls of power, to look them in the face and to call it out. And to say, like, this is the call of the working class, actually. Final thing. If you were to get rid of all the hedge fund managers today, no one would care. Nothing would change in our country. Nothing. If all the hedge fund managers disappeared, all the people who just like take money, digital ones and zeros, and plop it into more digital ones and zeros time and time again, and then make hundreds of millions by doing that and not lifting a finger. It's all done by AI anyway these days. Like those guys, if you were to get rid of them, nothing would stop. Nothing. Not a single train would not run on time, right? Not a single car would go flying off the road. Like the country would continue on as if nothing had happened. But if you were to get rid of the guys who lift manhole covers every single day, if you were to get rid of the guys who, like on my block, there was a dude fixing an electrical wire on my block, up in one of those lifts. If you were to get rid of those dudes, then the country would grind to a halt. We would immediately become South Sudan. And that's the violated class. And it's always the violated class. Those are always the people who get trod upon, spit upon, who get kidnapped by the likes of Jeffrey Epstein and his pals, and then passed around, serially abused, and then dumped off for dead. And they did literally kill Virginia Roberts. I'll just say it. Of course they did. Her family says they did. Very smart people on this show says they did, who come on this program, no more than me. So they just kill them, and that's what Epstein was. In the end, here's why this matters, and I'm sorry for the monologue. I'll finish with this. Epstein, this murder of Epstein sits so roundly in the public consciousness was that we all saw them sacrifice to us this monster. And they said, here's the body of this dead guy. Okay? Here's his corpse. He did bad things to your class, There's like thousands of us. There's hundreds of millions of you. And we don't want class revolt. And so here's the body of some dead pederast. Here's your token. Now go away. We all saw that happen. And while maybe a different generation would have just shrugged it off and said, oh, yeah, look at that. Kennedy got a hole in the head. Too bad. Oh, I guess we'll just believe the government. This is a very different generation. A little bit more of a chip on our shoulder, huh? A little bit harder edge. A little more black-pilled. And we said that's not good enough, in fact. You can't just like trot out the body of a dead pederast and say, oh, it's all done now, stop asking questions. Shut up. We looked into it. Shut up, move along. It doesn't work that way. Maybe it worked that way with my grandparents when they watched Kennedy's head get blown off and then his body get manipulated and the autopsy get manipulated and the people who killed him seize power and all the forces that wanted him dead celebrated, literally insulting his family, kicking them out of the White House. That's exactly what LBJ did when he got to the White House. Literally showed up with moving trucks to get Jackie out of there. As a matter of fact, like the day Kennedy died, they were doing this stuff. They had it all planned. They're monsters. And we just found out this past week, I mean, of all weeks for this to be blowing up, it's amazing how God works. Of all weeks for this to be blowing up, we just found out that Lee Harvey Oswald was practically a CIA agent, according to documents that were released by Congress. So, I mean, you know, you've been lying to us for 60 years, for nearly 7 decades, about your murder of a U.S. president. And it was done from inside of the government, and that's all but proven now. Here's the article, in case you think I've gone nuts. Here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, CIA has been lying to you about this. What else will they lie to you about? And so, forgive me for my soapbox. I'll step off now. But that's why it matters. That's why it matters. They murdered Jeffrey Epstein and rolled out his corpse to us and said, yeah, have a great time. You know, look, he's dead now. Bill Clinton could only be asked this. Just one final clip. The first, Bill Gates. Well, he's dead. Give me that. Well, he's dead. Well, he's dead. You can see the way that they actually, you can see the way that you can see what they think about you in this answer. This is the perfect distillation of what this op was, right? You caught us dead to rights. We were abusing children. We were abusing people from the working class that we abducted practically on a private island in international waters as part of an intel op. And we were all having a great time with it. And then you caught us. And in order to shut you up and shut up your questions, we're just going to murder him and then hang his body from the castle walls. Listen to this.
And, you know, I've said I regretted having those dinners. And there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead. So, you know, in general, you always have to be careful.
Look at the smile. Look at this. Look at him. Look. You don't have to believe me. Look with your eyes at this clip from PBS. Look at him. Look at the grinning. Well, he's dead. Who talks like that? They're monsters, these people. They're monsters. So that's why it matters. This was the op. They hung Epstein's body from the castle wall and told you to move along, peasant. And we're not. And we're not. And we're having a profound effect. And I just want to like shout out this audience and this chat, ladies and gentlemen. Right here. You can see the chat rolling. It's right there in the corner. This chat and this audience and this movement has made and created a profound change in this country. Uniting with some of the more powerful voices in the movement. And off the top of my head, you have Charlie Kirk, you have Tucker Carlson, you have Megyn Kelly, some people who won't be shutting up about this at all. Tucker Carlson, I think, doing like a very big live presentation on who Jeffrey Epstein was and what the op was. That'll happen tomorrow. Anyway, the point is that we've changed things. I'm just going to go through what we've changed just over the past 24 hours. Over the past 24 hours, the Speaker of the House has said the administration has broke effectively with the administration. ALX, give me that Axios article, please. This is because of our interview yesterday. But Speaker of the House Johnson, who was teed up, who was like ready to answer this, I didn't know what he was going to say, but he straight up said, "Nope, got to release it all. What's wrong with you? Get it out there. I respect that this is a sensitive topic, but let's get this behind us. Why agitate? Why agitate more over this?" It's true. He's right. He's right. You can fix it. And there's easy ways to fix it. And we've gone through that. Dozens of members of Congress on our stream alone called for Ghislaine Maxwell to testify. And the Maxwell family said, let's do it. There you go. This was reporting from this is one of probably thousands of articles written about our interview yesterday. Yeah, they're late. But anyway, let's continue. Ghislaine Maxwell's family being like, the government lied. Okay, whatever. Have your day. Look, let's have it out. Let's have all the information. Who's hiding what here? Trump said twice yesterday that the DOJ should release all of the credible files. And we'll talk about that in just a second. I actually think that that's reasonable, but we'll talk about it, okay? We can have it out in the comment section, shall we? Growing calls for a special counsel. That happened multiple times yesterday. Lauren Boebert made huge news saying, I am endorsing Matt Gaetz for a special counsel. What do you believe? Matt Gaetz for special counsel? Have we pinned a question yet? Can we pin that one? Bipartisan support for the release. Getting dumbass Democrats singing songs about the release. They're all frauds. They didn't call for any. They could care less. They trafficked hundreds of thousands of children into this country. They're all monsters. But whatever, I'll take it, okay? Whatever, I'll take it. On principle, I'll take it, okay? It doesn't mean you should give them any credit. They're truly as evil of monsters as Epstein. Again, the reason Epstein can operate is because of Democrats. Not only was he best friends with all these Democrats, but also because the Democrats allow for sex trafficking into the country by the hundreds of thousands, okay? We're not going to let that bone go. No. So they should have no moral high ground on this. But either way, I'll take the bipartisan support. That's fine. Let's close this chapter, shall we? And a massive cultural exposure of satanic predators and elites. The issue is more electric than ever. This is winning, and stop blackpilling. Now, I didn't add to that also there are members of Congress calling for the hanging of Jeffrey Epstein clients after trial and found guilty. And that would be Tim Burchett, who was on our show yesterday. Okay. So don't ever think that you can't have an effect. Don't ever think that you can't change things. I was out with reporting earlier this week that there is a large energy shift inside of the administration when it comes to disclosure around this issue. And that energy shift comes from audiences like this. You are having a profound and real effect. You are powering us to deliver your questions to Congress and your priorities to the halls of power. And we're deeply humbled and grateful for that opportunity. And we don't take it lightly. And we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. And that's just it. Now they've made this they've drawn a line in the sand. And so let's go. This was, I think, pretty fascinating yesterday. And it's probably because potentially of our interview. I'm not sure. I don't know. We're the first people to ask Mike Johnson about this question. Now, this clip has gone everywhere. It's gone thermonuclear viral. Mike Johnson yesterday. The clip B is that the full clip, ALX? Thanks. All right. Here's Mike Johnson yesterday getting asked by us about this issue. And the way that we framed it was, here's what Congress could do. Mike Johnson ain't in charge of the DOJ. It's unfair to pick on him. What do I mean by that? Mike Johnson can't wave a wand. There are some people who could wave a wand and release everything. There are people who could do that. There are people that have that power. He's not one of them. He could subpoena through a committee, Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson could have Ghislaine Maxwell testify. And so that was the framing of my question. Can you do what you can do, right? It's unfair to bang a pot over his head when he doesn't have the power to do things that the DOJ or FBI could do, right? And it's really, the ball is in their court, particularly the DOJ, especially the DOJ. Like actually 100% the DOJ is the holdup here. That I know is a matter of fact. Dan Bongino and Kash Patel are in favor of more releases and a special counsel. I kid you not. Like, take that to the bank. Okay. So, Mike Johnson answering, he decided instead of shying away from to his great and endearing credit, and I didn't know about Mike Johnson. I'd never met him until yesterday. Live on the stream, I met him live. I've never met Mike Johnson, ever. So I'm not doing some old friend a favor or anything. And I didn't pull my punches. Well, you want to be fair. So Mike Johnson, instead of like dodging the question and doing like, we're going to have to see where the committee goes with this. You know, that would have been like the fake ass DC, worm his way out. No, Mike Johnson went straight to the heart of it and said this is being mismanaged and you got to be honest with the American people, and this is a test of that. Go.
A question here about it that concerns either testifying or testimony for Ghislaine Maxwell potentially before Congress, or if you would support members like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Anna Paulina Luna on the release of subpoenaing the Epstein documents from the DOJ, whether you would support either of those.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Marjorie or Anna about that specific subject, but I'm for transparency. We're intellectually consistent in this. Look, Reagan used to tell us we should trust the American people. I believe in that principle. I know President Trump does as well, and I trust him. I mean, he put together a team of his choosing, and they're doing a great job. It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide it. I mean, the White House and the White House team are privy to facts that I don't know. I mean, this isn't my lane. I haven't been involved in that. But I agree with the sentiment that we need to put it out there. And Pam Bondi, I don't know, when she originally made the statement, I think she was talking about documents. As I understood it, they were on her desk. I don't know that she was specific about a list or whatever, but she needs to come forward and explain that to everybody. I like Pam. I mean, I think she's done a good job. We need the DOJ focusing on the major priorities. So let's get this thing resolved so that they can deal with violent crime and public safety and election integrity and going after Act Blue and the things that the president is most concerned about, as we are. So I'm anxious to get this behind us.
Yeah, and I can see that because there's so many victories and there's so many wins that are happening.
We just had the most incredible 6 months of any administration, arguably in the history of the United States. There are so many accomplishments. It would take us a stack of papers this high, and yet we're having to spend our time talking about this. Let's get it resolved.
That's going to be wildly refreshing for this audience, and to speak on behalf of them, to hear somebody just say, let's just have transparency with the American people, get it out there, and there's no reason to protect predators, right? So. I mean,
of course.
This is the family values party. Let's just do it.
What Epstein was involved in was an unspeakable evil. We've got to stand against it, not just in word, but in deed. And so we'll see what happens. Look, I do trust the president. I know his heart and head is in the right place. I don't question that at all. And I'm convinced they're going to sort this out.
You never know what you're going to get. You assume that somebody that powerful, he's third in line for the presidency. He's like, obviously one of the top allies of the president. You never know what you're going to get. You assume that what you're going to get is pablum, and you're going to get a non-answer, and you're going to get the shrugging off of, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. That's what I assumed would happen, right? But nope. Instead, that dude stood and delivered. And Speaker of the House has made international headlines. I mean, I know we have a series of them. Grab the asset, please. There you go. Hey guys, send that. Here's just a short snippet of everything. It's in the asset chat, guys, the War Room breaking chat. The headlines that were made from yesterday spanned the globe just by that answer. And it's not like we're not tooting our horns. We're just doing our job, We're doing our job like we do every single day. Look at this. I mean, this is one slide of 7 that we have capturing all of the headlines made from just that commentary. So to his great credit, this is an energizing issue and moment. Dare I say a bipartisan issue? And it seems like, according to my sources, Donald Trump has heard us. Now, President Trump just posted on Truth Social something that I think is you know, something that perhaps changes the dynamic, but I'm not sure. Let me show you what the president said yesterday. Some people criticize me for saying that Donald Trump's now calling for the release of the Epstein files, which is the title of this program. I have never lied to you, and I never will. Donald Trump did call for the release of the Epstein files yesterday. He did it twice, okay? That's how you know it's not a mistake. He did it twice. He said, give it to them, give it to them, talking about the media and the Epstein files, all of it. I'll play the clips right now. Trump puts a caveat in there. Anything credible. Listen, man, I'm willing to be like a very, very reasonable person here, and I want to like state what we've always stated on this show. It is a smear and a slander against people who want truth on this issue to say we just want like predator material on the internet. Of course we don't. We want the opposite of that. So like I hate that. Of course there needs to be stuff that is protected. You don't want to re-victimize people. I get that. I totally understand. In fact, it's the opposite. I want to shame and name predators and elites who did bad things. I do want them destroyed in order as a warning sign to everyone else who wishes to engage in this kind of behavior, that we as a society refuse to accept it, and that we will punish you if you do this. We know that this is an evil that happens. We've read the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. We get it. But we're trying to not be that actually in this country. And part of that is like punishing the predators, right? But not by re-victimizing people and releasing a bunch of like horrible images or videos or whatever is in there, like out into the public. That's not what we want. So what Trump's saying here is that we should release what is credible. Okay, I guess we can argue over the term of what that means. But twice yesterday he says release all credible evidence. Here's the proof. Here we go.
Mr. President, your daughter-in-law said that there should be transparency in the Epstein case. Do you agree with her, sir?
The Attorney General's handled that very well. She's really done a very good job. And I think that when you look at it, you'll understand that. I would like to see that also. But I think the Attorney General, the credibility is very important. And you want credible evidence for something like that. And I think the Attorney General's handled it very well.
How many more states? The Attorney General briefed you on the DOJ and FBI review, the findings of that review. The Attorney General briefed you on that.
What? On the
DOJ and FBI
on what?
review.
On what subject?
Epstein.
Okay.
On Epstein, of the review of the files. Attorney General Pam Bondi.
A very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No. She's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, you know, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
So this is the first time since Trump has become president that he said, whatever's credible, you should release. And I want to go back in history here and grab that old Fox interview. I don't see it. Is it in the script? I want the old Fox interview where Donald Trump says the exact same thing. So Trump knows something about this. So Trump knows more than he's letting on. Obviously, he always does this. Here's President Trump's second answer yesterday, and then I'm going to play you an answer from a year ago, almost to the day, an answer the year ago. And you'll see that it's the exact same answer, in fact. Now, why don't we know about this answer? Because Fox edited the clip. I kid you not. We can prove it, right? Fox edited the clip, but Donald Trump has said the same thing about this about a year ago. Here's Trump's second answer yesterday that was even more clear, that he wants the DOJ to now go about releasing as much as they possibly can on Epstein. Go.
Urge people to move on, but I'm curious, why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled?
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. All that information was fake. but I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say let them have it.
Mr. President, a question on AI. How do you want America?
Let them have it. Anything that's credible, give it. Empty out the vaults. Go. That's an order from Trump yesterday. Now, I find this particularly interesting for two reasons. One, President Trump said pretty much the same thing. You know, listen, we're not Trump haters at all on this channel. We are massive fans of MAGA and the base and the incredible thing that President Trump has built here, and that, quite frankly, I think is divinely inspired in the sense that, well, so many impossibilities, including assassination survivals and so on, have happened over the course of the last year, and I believe that the country has been delivered. They wanted a funeral, and they got a revival, and it's special, and we should appreciate that. I am trying to just give tough love and speak on behalf of the base, and we have millions of people in this audience that are frustrated by this. And we're just trying to give a voice and a distillation, I guess, of what that means. What is that exactly? That's what we opened our monologue about. But also in President Trump using this framing, and I want to put up Trump's truth here because Trump just posted about Epstein like a couple minutes ago on Truth Social. Get ready, for a new round of news because Trump keeps posting, messages like this. It's going to cause a new news cycle right on it. Maybe that's the point. I don't know, man. I'm not sure. But listen, Trump saying, and he says it again, that the Epstein list is a hoax. We got the Steele dossier, and we got the evidence for the intel agents lying. If anything, releasing all of the Epstein evidence would prove, perhaps, that things are fake, or things were created, or there was a illusion that was presented by the intel agencies that were operating him. The only reason we know that Hunter Biden's laptop, so it says here, Steele dossier, lying 51 intelligence agency, laptop from hell, which Dems swore came from Russia. No, it came from Hunter's bathroom. And even Russia scam itself is totally fake and made up. Correct. True. And we have railed until our voice broke on those issues on this program. And they were an evil visited upon President Trump. They were all lies. They were presented as truth. And the only way to discern that they were not true was to investigate, to ask questions, and to put a shoulder to the wheel, and to start to really hammer against them. And slowly, through the course of disclosures in Congress, the release of evidence, subpoenas, trials, jury findings, you're able to discern that, yes, all of these things are hoaxes. It took special prosecutors, in fact, to discern the true nature of the Steele dossier. John Durham spent 5 freaking years looking into the Steele dossier in order to determine what its true fundraising sources were. And that was the Clinton campaign lying, and in one of the greater injustices of my lifetime, having to pay a $100,000 fine for lying about creating that document. Now we'll see if they're going to pay even further. James Comey, John Brennan, and so on, being wrapped up in what is called a grand criminal conspiracy by the FBI that is currently ongoing. We talked about it on the program a couple days ago. There's been no new news on that. We'll see. But my point to the president, respectfully, is the only way we know that all those are fake and that that's all garbage is that eventually we got all of the information, or at least enough of it in order to discern that. None of us just believed it based on vibes. None of us just thought it was all fake. Of course we thought it was fake or made up, But it really helped cement it to release all the evidence. It really helped cement it when people just played ball and we got the text messages. Is Trump really going to win? Remember that? It's like burned in the back of my brain. Lisa Page to Peter Strzok. Is Trump really going to win? No, we'll stop it. We've never seen our FBI talk like that. And they released the evidence. They didn't want to, but they released the evidence, and it really showed us the true nature of what was going on there. Good. You know, good. So, like, by Trump's own logic here, we should be releasing everything, which I think would be a great pressure release valve for all of this. Now, here's where, of course, I will be siding with Trump, and we have been consistent on this issue since day one of this conversation, is Jeffrey Epstein did have a gardener. He had somebody who cut his grass, right? Or like cleaned his house. Probably in his address book. Some like working class dude in his 60s who by no fault of his own was like hired to trim the hedges. And like, do you want that guy's name like dragged through and tortured in all this, you know, and everybody looking him up? I believe that would be reckless. I do. I don't like that, actually. And so what President Trump is saying is technically right in that when you release, if you just released everything without any context or explanation or due diligence by the feds, then there would definitely be some people that would be totally destroyed in this who don't deserve that. And I am not in favor of innocent people having their lives destroyed. We have spent the better part of the last 3 years on this program defending President Trump from having his life destroyed by garbage indictments and trials and cases. Some of our very closest friends were all ensnared in that. And so I hate that, and I don't like it. As I've talked about before on this program, time and time again, we were invited to Trump's January 6th speech. And I sat there in the front row and listened to the president on January 6th. It was a freaking freezing cold day. And I didn't go to the Capitol, but you know how it works. You know how it works. If you looked at the Capitol building that day, you could expect a Fed to kick in your door. And I've lived, we lived under the Biden regime assuming that was going to happen to me one of these days. Like my wife and I had, we talked about it regularly. Like they were just literally anybody that posted about January 6th, that looked at the Capitol. Enrique Tarrio, he's the guy in charge of the Proud Boys. Like he wasn't even there, and he got 22 years in prison. He wasn't even there that day, right? So what about me? I went to the speech. As an invited guest. What happens next? Sat right next to Alex Jones. Weirdest moment, one of the weirder moments of my life. Sat right next to Alex Jones, and Alex Jones saw what was happening, and then got up and sprinted across the field, nearly got shot by the Secret Service. Because Alex Jones realized that there was a plot afoot. That guy has crazy spiritual energy. He realized there was a plot afoot, and he went sprinting off to fix it. To try and stop it. It's very interesting times. That's not what this show's about. What I'm trying to say is that I am not for innocent people. I'm not for innocent people getting destroyed. We've defended J6ers. We've defended President Trump. I don't want innocent people to have their lives destroyed. So I totally get this. And President Trump has, if anything, been actually weirdly consistent on this. Here's the unedited Fox News answer. Fox edited his answer. I'm not saying there was anything evil about it. They have to edit for time. The essence of Trump's answer is the same. But Trump gives a little more context here in the unedited full explanation. 1 year ago, being asked, will you release the Epstein files? Listen to this.
The FBI, all those institutions.
You're right.
Some people think that one way to build trust is to declassify things that everyone's talking about. I know you talked earlier about it. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. So if you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these. Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah. I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out what happened there because that was a weird situation and the cameras didn't happen to be working, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I'd go a long way toward that one. The other stuff I would definitely do the January 6th because, beyond all of them, because what happened.
This clip has just been re-upped in my timeline, and it seems wildly consistent. Trump knows something. Be nice to know. But he knows something. Something has been meddled with. There's a lot of phony stuff he says in there. Okay? Best sunlight, best disinfectant is sunlight. But that's consistent, and as we have explained, I am against innocent people having their lives destroyed. So I get it, right? You had lunch with Jeffrey Epstein one time, right? Back when he was his entire op was wormholing his way into polite society, and you've done nothing wrong, and then you get your life completely blown out of proportion, and this is why our stance on this program has been extremely consistent. Explain. Show your work. Show your work. Come out with it. Show the evidence. Show how you came to these conclusions. Alan Dershowitz is out saying, freaking, of course there's a list. There is a list. The DOJ has the list. And there are, there's lists of just innocent people that were his gardener. And then there's lists of criminals. And I'm talking about just explaining the differences, right? And then more importantly, or as importantly, explaining where'd the money come from? How was he operationally able to do this? What were the relationships? There's Dershowitz, who was Epstein's lawyer, explaining exactly that the government knows exactly what actually went on here.
Is the government hiding a client list or anything that the Trump administration could release tonight?
No, there is no client list. There never has been a client list. A client list suggests that Jeffrey Epstein made a list of people to whom he trafficked women. What there is a redacted FBI affidavit from accusers. There are several of them. From accusers that accuse Jeffrey, that accuse various people of having improper sex. And that has been redacted. The names of the people accused have been blacked out. Now, of course, because I was the lawyer and I did only investigations, I know who all these people are. I could figure out, based on everything that I saw, who Mr. X is, Mr. Y is, and Mr. Z. I can tell you right now, none of them are public figures who are currently in office. Some of them were previously in office. Some of them are dead. But there is no client list. And the redactions could be undone if you go to court. So many of the things that are being suppressed by two judges in Manhattan. And they're doing it largely to protect the alleged accusers who are, in the view of the judges, victims, even though we don't know what their actual status is. But the judges have issued orders, which is why I can't disclose things I'd love to disclose.
Applauding for this chat, because you were right. We were right. We've been proven right every single step of the way. Man, I'm telling you, we've been proven right every step of the way. We told you that the administration, there's now major push inside of the administration to fix this problem and for more disclosure. We've told you that those calls were coming from inside of Congress. We proved that yesterday. And that from internally in the administration, you saw President Trump saying, okay, out with it. Just out with it. Out with the evidence. Out with the credible evidence. Okay, I mean, listen, I agree with that, actually. Totally. Let's not destroy people's lives. And now, we told you that there were judges that were locking down all of the evidence that you seek, that there were judges in the Southern District of New York that were locking down and protecting people and were operating as a protection racket. And that the DOJ needs to muscle their way in and can fix this. And there's Dershowitz confirming that reporting. That's a week old on this program. You heard it here first. When we had these conversations, we had them with people internally at the DOJ. We know exactly what's going on. And the FBI. And the Trump family. And this is us just being good friends. That's it. We want the MAGA base to continue. We want the MAGA base to be as strong as possible. There's obvious realignments that always have to happen. This is just one of those moments. And this is how we fight through and stay strong. Here's Laura Trump saying the same thing that Mike Johnson said. Saying, you know what? Just even the impression that like predators are being protected, like let's just be out with it. What do you have? What do we have to hide? Let's do it and expect more. And this is like just such a positive clip from Laura. Here we go. This was the topic of conversation. What would be your advice in order to take the temperature down on this issue from within the administration?
Well, I do think that there needs to be more transparency on this. And I think that will happen. I mean, look, I don't know what truly exists there, but I know that this is something that's important to the president as well. He does want transparency on all these fronts, that everything we're talking about, because it's frustrated him as well. He sat for 4 years like the rest of us did and saw lie after lie and saw our country just being sent down the wrong path. And it was really frightening and very upsetting to a lot of people to see. And I would actually say over the past 10 years, we've all kind of endured this. Prior to that, it was probably happening, Benny, but we just weren't as aware of it. It wasn't until Donald Trump came down that golden escalator that he just kind of blew the doors off of everything. And people started to wake up and realize, wait a minute, things are not as they have always been presented to us. And I do believe that you will see that. Now, as it relates to the president, I know that this is probably not his number one thing he's focused on. He's focused on a lot of other important things. We've got this big announcement with Russia going on, I think, as we're speaking right now at the White House. We have, a Middle East. We're trying to get peace over there. We're trying to make sure that Iran's nuclear arsenal is obviously completely decimated. We want to make sure everything is on the right track for this country. Fortunately, you see no border crossings in the last month. 0, by the way. I think that's incredible. And no one's talking about that enough. 0 illegal border crossings in the month of June. Amazing how that's all gone. So I don't know that this was top of mind for him, but he hears all the noise and he hears all of the consternation out there. And I think he's going to want to set things right as well. So I believe that there will probably be more coming on this. And I believe anything that they are able to release that doesn't, damage any witnesses or anyone underage or anything like that, I believe they'll probably try to get out sooner rather than later because they hear it and they understand it. So hopefully we see that happen sooner than later. And I guess that would be my advice. But to everybody out there who's all worked up about it, there's no great plot to keep this information away that I'm aware of. I do just believe that maybe it's been slow rolled for reasons that hopefully we understand down the line. And I think we're probably going to get more transparency on it very soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pulling up something from a friend of mine who, again, has nothing but love for the president, who many people actually call the president's fifth son. It's Charlie Kirk. I did an interview with Mike Benz yesterday. And his interview with Mike Benz, he goes through the 10 reasons and 10 ways that you could fix this, like immediately, actually. Not like really deep dives in a way that only Charlie can. And I want to go through this. Now, as I think it's absolutely important. We know both these guys. And again, Mike Benz is a massive fan of the administration, and so is Charlie. So let's go. 10 immediate, credible action items that can be done right now. Some of these acronyms, I don't know. Okay? OPR DOJ report should be released immediately. DOJ should move to unseal all Maxwell grand jury testimony. Bring Acosta in for a full interview and find out what he knew about Epstein working for intelligence. Release all non-CSAM, that's abuse material, underlying facts about Epstein indictment. Why not? It all happened under the Trump DOJ. Show your work. Need a full report on why 2007 Bush-Comey investigation of Epstein was so bushered. You know who was in charge when Jeffrey Epstein was initially found guilty was Robert Mueller. Do you understand? Do you get it now? In 2005, Jeffrey Epstein was put under investigation for trafficking 50 young women. He started working with the FBI. Robert Mueller protected him, and the charges went away. Greenlight Maxwell to speak freely. Klein, I need you to scroll. Greenlight Maxwell to speak freely and learn what she knows and get to the bottom of how Epstein got his money and gather bank records and financial statements. Release the names of the prisoners on the prison floor that night that Epstein was murdered. Overrule the prisoner privacy rules and get maybe their testimony. Like, did they hear anything? Like, nobody's ever interviewed or asked any of the prisoners anything. We'll actually be speaking with a prisoner who shared a cell with Epstein tomorrow on the program. Get ready for that announcement. Get the missing minutes of the prison footage press conference ASAP to explain any confusion. Comments below. Any other ideas? This is what it looks like to be constructive, right, in all of this. Back to Mike Penz's response, please. 100%. This will go a long way in restoring the trust. And I'd note that what we need are the investigative sub-files that went into the OPR. And I don't know what that's the Office of Professional Responsibility. Office of Professional Responsibility. Thank you. DOJ report, not the report itself, which did not provide the transcripts of the interviews, Epstein intelligence, ties to Barr's, CIA, and so on. Seems perfectly reasonable. There's probably so much of that available. Now that Ghislaine Maxwell is saying that she wants to testify. Her family yesterday said she wants to testify. Do we have that? Ghislaine Maxwell's family yesterday saying, get Ghislaine in front of Congress. And we went, thank you. And we went to Congress and asked about this. Ghislaine Maxwell's family breaks their silence with bombshell claim Trump decision to close the Epstein case triggers MAGA civil war. Ghislaine Maxwell's family has broken their silence, says she is innocent, subject to government misconduct. Okay, fine, prove it. In an unscrupulous effort to blame someone for Jeffrey Epstein's crimes when he died. So what's going to happen next? Her family maintains that Ghislaine did not receive a fair trial and says prosecutors stopped at nothing to convict her during the public's appetite to face justice on Epstein's behalf after his death. Well, right. If you're going to engage in the cover-up, this is it. You gotta put away the physical evidence, right? The family argued that Maxwell should have been protected under an agreement with Epstein entered into the Department of Justice in 2017. Well, let's look at that. Why is Jeffrey Epstein, the world's foremost pederast, given a special agreement in 2017 in which they vowed not to prosecute any of the co-conspirators as he paid fines and paid victims millions of dollars and served 13 months in prison? He didn't actually serve 13 months in prison. Ghislaine Maxwell is alive and not actually that far away from where we broadcast. She's in a prison in Florida, in fact. That'd be interesting. And we should check and see if she's able to do an interview. Yep. The counsel representing Maxwell said, I'd be surprised if President Trump and his lawyers were asking the Supreme Court to let the government break a deal. He's the ultimate deal maker. I'm sure he'd agree that the United States gives its word, it should keep it. With all the talk about who's being prosecuted and who isn't, especially unfair to Ghislaine Maxwell to remain in prison, promise the U.S. government made and broke. The family said that they profoundly concur with Marcus's comments. Okay. I don't think Ghislaine Maxwell's innocent. I think she's a monster. Based on what we've read, no, and the evidence that has been presented to us. But there is truth in this, that there was a unspeakable plea deal struck in 2017 when Epstein belonged to intelligence, and that so many people were able to skate on it. Why did the government strike that deal? The Trump administration wasn't in power. Donald Trump was a TV host at the time. None of these people were. Dan Bongino was a Secret Service agent at the time, right? Evil people made these deals decades before President Trump's administration got into power. So they should answer for it, meaning the people that made the deals, not Trump's administration. And Trump's administration, as we have been arguing, should wash their hands of it and put these individuals on blast, these agencies on blast that did this. We have the FBI documents saying, "Hey, shut up, move on from Epstein. He's a protected informant." Ladies and gentlemen, and we have our own tapes from yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, on Capitol Hill, asking these questions. Just a really quick round of what we were able to accomplish yesterday with the power of this program. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
That would be most likely the committee where Ghislaine Maxwell would testify. Would you be in favor of that?
Absolutely. Yes. Of course, we want answers. No one is satisfied with what has been received or lack thereof. No one is satisfied with the rollout of this. Of course, we've heard that Dan Bongino is not satisfied with the rollout of this either. And, I think you hear time and time again what an honorable stand-up man Dan Bongino is. President Trump, he obviously thinks highly of Attorney General Pam Bondi. I don't know her personally, but I know Dan. And he's a wonderful man, and I have no reason to doubt him. And I think moving forward, we need a special counsel. That has got to happen. There has to be a special investigation into this if we aren't going to be provided information. Maybe Matt Gaetz can lead the special counsel.
Would you vote in favor of that?
Absolutely.
Best advice for Pam Bondi is what? Very quickly.
Take the ball and run with it. People want to see accountability. There have been a lot of investigations. The deep state has been exposed thanks to Radcliffe and Kash Patel. Let's start prosecuting these people. Let's set some examples out of some people.
Would you be in favor of Ghislaine Maxwell testifying?
Absolutely. I've posted on this, and if she were to testify, I think she could answer a lot of questions that could help put all of this in perspective.
People really want to know what's going to happen next with Epstein. They want to know, can the FBI review the terror? Here's one from Knock. Can the FBI review the terabytes of information? Can we get Ghislaine Maxwell before Congress? Would you support that?
I fully support the transparency on this issue, Benny. I 100% support that.
There are probably hundreds of minutes of questions that we asked yesterday. And now here we are. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to, I really sincerely want you to pray for the administration. I want you to pray for darkness over light, for light over darkness. Ladies and gentlemen, that good will conquer evil, and that all of the good energy that is being gathered on all of this from the base and the forces of darkness, do not overcome, what we're building here. Because we simply want to save this country and make it a damn good country for our children to live in. The next guest that we have on our program does want just that. I know this as a matter of fact. I know this man. He's an excellent man. He gave us an incredible tour of the EPA building in Washington, D.C. It was sort of like the Haunted Mansion, actually, at Disney, in the sense that it was just ghosts. There was nobody working there. I can't wait to check back in with the great Lee Zeldin, who's the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. Here we go. Mr. Administrator, welcome back to the program. I'm going to start off by just kicking it into high gear here. I am so sick and tired of seeing the planes flying over my house with all of the trails or whatever it is, the geoengineering that seems to be like a massive issue. And you went viral by being the first EPA administrator to speak out against it and say you're going to investigate it. And that's refreshing, actually, that level of transparency.
Well, my thought is that everything that the agency knows, everything that I, as administrator of EPA, knows, should be provided to the public. And then the public can ask additional questions, can be able to have a dialogue with each other when they have that level of answers back from their government. The conversation can move forward. Unfortunately, what happens too often is that on all sorts of different topics, people have a question for the government, and then government ignores them. Will label them as conspiracy theorists, say that everything that someone says, that people say is just not true, or it doesn't even merit an answer. And then what happens is distrust of government grows.
Yes.
And the disconnect between the people and government grows. And I think that we are able to help in this process by just letting the public know whatever it is that we know. And quite frankly, there'll be people in the public who will read through what we have and say that they are satisfied with some of it or not happy with other parts of it. That's fine, as long as we don't hold anything back, as long as we're just fully transparent with letting the public know what we know.
Mr. Administrator, I cannot tell you how encouraging that is to this audience. And this audience is an audience that loves the president and loves this administration and cheered from the rafters when we started to see disclosures from Tulsi Gabbard, who I know you know very well, on JFK. And it was something that the president promised, and it was really like spectacular, because what happened was there was this pressure cooker that had built over decades of just this assumption that the government was lying to us. And then by releasing all these documents and releasing all this evidence, that the pressure release valve like hit, and everyone's like, well, maybe they didn't like the results, or they, or maybe they're upset about what was it, but at least the government was playing ball, right? It was a gold standard. It was an incredible thing to see. It's wonderful to see that you're doing that at the EPA.
Yeah, well, let me talk about an extreme. So, like, let's say some artificial intelligence video drops an hour from now and shows something that is, like a U.S. government plane, just dropping what looks crazy, insane, and it spurs this conversation. The video goes viral. And there are people who are just concluding that based off of this AI video that, the Trump administration must be intentionally releasing all of this stuff on this video. Like, that's an extreme, right?
Yeah.
I would just caution to people who are out there is just not to get duped by anything that you see on the internet that's just not true. All I am interested in is just IDing hard facts. And the fact is that geoengineering is real. It's something that the U.S. government has acknowledged for a long time. Solar radiation modification, stratospheric aerosol injection, marine cloud brightening, weather modification, cloud seeding. Some of this stuff has a history that's going back many decades. Some of this stuff has history of government funding as recently as over the course of the last few years during the Biden administration. So the questions that the government that the people are asking of government is very fair. It's important for the people in the public to make sure that they understand what these things are individually, and you don't just confuse it all. Like if you just see some picture of a whole bunch of high altitude aircraft over your house where the conditions are very hot, jet fuel exhaust is coming in contact with low temperature air in high humidity that is causing that cloud exhaust fume to be that cloud to exist for longer than a few minutes. What you shouldn't do is say, that is marine that is stratospheric aerosol injection, that is solar radiation modification, that is geoengineering. You start confusing terms and definitions, you will start losing your own credibility of your own question, of your own argument. Here's the thing with us. We want to treat everybody respectfully. We want to respect everyone's intelligence. We want to answer the questions. We want to be thorough. I will tell you in advance, as we're putting out this information, there are people in the public who, they just won't like what they receive. I've told my team, I don't want to bias anything of what we put out. All I care is, what is the history? What has government funded? What is government known? What do we know that has not been put out to the public or can be reemphasized? And then you engage in a respectful dialogue to build trust with the public. And sometimes it takes time. So we posted a webpage, for example, at epa.gov/geoengineering.
It's right here, sir. It's on screen, ladies and gentlemen.
Encourage the listeners to go click through the links, and if you see something there, you're learning that's new, that's great. You can investigate, do your own research, learn more. Maybe you have a question of something that you thought maybe EPA knew that's not there. I'm telling you, there is nothing that I know as administrator of EPA that is not on what we posted onto the internet. If it's not there, then it's either not true or it's something that I have not come in contact at all as administrator or the agency. Now there's different agencies that have been involved, as we note on the website. There have been times where National Science Foundation, NOAA, FAA, other agencies have their own equities, and through this process, we weren't just having conversations and meetings internally within the EPA, but we were also doing research and engaging with other agencies and asking questions of others so that we could give as thorough of information as possible. But anyone out there who cares about these issues, we want to continue to engage with you. And we want to make sure that there is a respectful, honest, non-biased, factual conversation that follows.
My heart's singing. We rejoice in this, and this is precisely why Trump won in a landslide. This level of transparency and honesty with the American people. We have your website up right now. I encourage everybody watching to go to this website and to look. And if you wouldn't mind entertaining, Mr. Administrator, just a simple question from me about cloud seeding. What is the argument for it? It is real. That was something that we were all. If somebody put a pot on our head and banged it, right? Shut up, shut up. This doesn't happen. But it does happen, in fact. And your website goes into detail about it. Could you please educate me as to what and why would cloud seeding be happening in our country?
So this is something that's actually been around for many, many decades. I share specific concerns with cloud seeding on the website, and I would encourage your listeners, your viewers, to read through some of the concerns that I expressed that are there. There are people who are on the opposite side of all of these different issues that are listed as it relates to geoengineering and weather modification, and they say that listen, we need to combat global warming, so let's deflect the sun and the sun rays back up into the sky. They would argue in favor of it. I would express some very strong concerns and say that is something, that's a path that we shouldn't be going down.
Yes, thank you.
There are people who have advocated in favor of cloud seeding. I would defer to them to argue why they think it's a good idea. I've expressed my concerns with it. But they would say that it would help to add precipitation in an area that might be plagued by drought. I just feel very uneasy with that idea of messing with the weather like that. It is obviously a very unnatural thing to do. And all I could do is double down and triple down and reemphasize and caution the concerns that we are expressing on our website as it relates to these different forms of both geoengineering and weather modification, and that includes cloud seeding as referenced on the website.
I have a personal question for you as just an American and somebody who wants to raise your family here healthfully. I mean, do you think, are you satisfied with the studies that have been done on this to ensure that we are not putting the type of chemicals or elements into the air that can be then rained down upon us and then make perhaps the weather toxic or not healthy to the American people?
This has not been studied enough. And when I say that, I'm not advocating for any outdoor studies. When I say there aren't enough studies, I'm not saying that we should be going out and experimenting more to check that box. If somebody wants to conduct some type of a research project in a lab setting to try to get more answers, they're using their own science technology. It's some project that's going on in a university. That is one aspect of studying a particular issue. It's a whole other thing to say, okay, now I'm going to be loading up the atmosphere with sulfur dioxide, and I'm going to try to combat global warming, through this billion-dollar grant that I just received yesterday, and I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Hey, government, I'm giving you a heads up that I'm going to do it. You have no power to stop me. Now, fortunately, there's been nothing to scale, like nothing massive that has taken place. The one thing that first alerted us to an issue in 2025, and it wasn't new to 2025, but it was once President Trump was inaugurated, once I was confirmed, this company that was out there called Make Sunsets, they happen to be doing it to a much smaller scale. But you could just tell by the way that they are engaging in this that if they had the resources to scale it up, they would. And it's a reasonable conversation, debate to be had amongst the American public and in Congress as to whether or not some private actor should be able to just say on their own that they're going to go ahead and just do it. Government doesn't have the power to stop them, and they're just going to kind of decide to play God on their own. And if you ask me for my personal opinion,
yes, sir,
I have a problem with that.
Yes, sir.
And we put on the website our many concerns. And I'll just end with this to answer your question again, the same way that I answered it when you first asked here at the beginning. It has not been studied enough. It hasn't been researched enough, but absolutely nobody out there should take that answer as me advocating for more outdoor experiments. The problem is the concerns are too great, and I would not be encouraging more outdoor studies of these different topics.
Yes, in all due respect, you serve with Robert Kennedy Jr., who spent his entire many decades of his young life fighting against toxins and poisons being pumped into our water supply, which I think every human in this country of sound mind agrees that's terrible. We don't want our kids to be drinking toxic water, obviously. But it seems as though there is free range in order to do that into the atmosphere. And that seems like prima facie wrong, Mr. Administrator.
Yeah, so there's a requirement to notify NOAA when engaging in the activity that that one company, Make Sunsets, announced that they were going to be engaging in. There's a notification requirement, but there is a lot of concern over a lack of current authority under current statute to be able to stop these activities if the activities get scaled up. Now, I feel like that is a problem. That is something that we should be talking about. But I want to again caution all of your viewers out there just to take the time, if you care about these issues, to study each of them individually. Realize do not combine all of them or confuse these different topics. Not all forms of geoengineering are equal. Not all forms of weather modification are equal. And don't think that every single time that you see condensation trails above your house that this is some type of an intentional release of chemicals to conduct population control or mind control. There are some people who are out there on the internet who might be very unhappy with me saying this, but I'm going to just shoot straight. I deal in facts. There have been planes flying at high altitude for a very long time. And when you look up and you're seeing these condensation trails that are lasting longer than they normally do, it is caused by higher humidity conditions. You have very hot jet engine exhaust coming in contact with very cold air. And the circumstances, the conditions at high altitude are often very different than the conditions that you might be experiencing on the ground when you look up at the sky. So that concern that's out there when you look up and it's like, oh my gosh, look at all of these different airplanes intentionally releasing chemicals on us because they're trying to harm us. They're trying to harm the environment. and then you start using these other terms that we've been talking about during this interview, and you combine it all and you confuse it all, what will happen, unfortunately, maybe unintentionally, is your own argument ends up getting undermined.
Yes.
So let's all just deal in facts. We be respectful of each other, have a thoughtful dialogue, and we can advance this conversation and then help inform that debate inside of Congress. I saw, so Marjorie Taylor Greene put a new bill out in Congress, and Brendan Boyle, who's a congressman in Pennsylvania, posted on social media mocking Marjorie Taylor Greene for having a position of concern about geoengineering and weather modification. Now, Brendan Boyle can disagree with the proposal, can say, Brendan Boyle might say that we should be doing solar radiation modification. We should be doing stratospheric aerosol injection. We should be doing marine cloud brightening. We should be doing cloud seeding. If Brendan Boyle, as a member of Congress, wants to take the position that all of that stuff is okay to do, that's a member of Congress's decision on a position to take, and then we debate it. But don't be insulting Marjorie Taylor Greene, who wants to have a conversation and to look at statute, because she's concerned that if one of these entities scales up their activity, that an agency that exists in the federal government may currently be lacking the authority to stop it. And you know what? From that standpoint, what Marjorie Taylor Greene is putting out there for Congress to have a conversation about is something that Congress should be respectfully and substantively debating on. But don't mock her as if it's not a thing. The U.S. government, long before President Trump was elected, long before President Trump was even a candidate for his first term, have recognized these different activities. And in some cases, the government has even been funding these activities. So it's imperative for members of Congress. If you disagree with Marjorie, that's fine. This is America. You're free to do so. But don't make fun of her as if what she is saying about these different forms of geoengineering that we talk about on our agency website, don't talk as if like that stuff's just not true. Go to our website. This stuff was put together working with dedicated career staffers here at EPA and others, where we asked the tough questions on behalf of the American public. Whether or not we or the American public was going to be happy with the answers, we're just dealing with facts.
It's just breathtakingly refreshing. The audience is cheering you on. The chat's going wild, Mr. Administrator, for a federal official to just be this honest with us, because if just a few short years ago you had said the government controls the weather, maybe you'd be fired from your job or you'd be deleted from the internet. But now you're on this program, and with your website, which you can go to right here, you're sitting there telling us, yes, in fact, the government has attempted to, and in many cases has, manipulated weather patterns and is in the active process of doing so.
Well, just to be crystal clear, some of what we're listing is stuff that the U.S. government is not actively engaged in. Again, we can't combine all of these into one term. There's not all forms of geoengineering are equal. Not all forms of weather modification are equal. Cloud seeding, for example, is legal in a number of United States states, but throughout the country, in most states, it isn't allowed. There are some states taking action on these topics. In recent years, Florida has acted, and there's been a debate inside of the state legislature. Everything that we put on that website is accurate. It's been vetted. It's there as a public service to let the public know what I, as administrator of EPA, knows. But in some cases, when the government is funding these activities, the government has funded research into these activities. And what I want to express concern about, one, the American public should always know where their tax dollars are going, period.
Yes.
Every last dollar, the American public deserves to know where their money is getting spent. As it relates to research of these topics, I have concern when the research that's being done is being done outdoors, and we express on the website what our concerns are with some of these different forms of geoengineering and weather modification, and why outdoor experiments can be an issue. But what I don't want to have misinterpreted about the website that you have up on your website that we're talking about here, that you have up on your screen that we're talking about here, is that we're not saying that the government is out there, actively engaged in scaled up activities to do all of these different things. That's actually not true. And that's an important point that I want to put out as well. However, if we're silent about this topic, let's just say the pendulum swings and some climate alarmist, some activist is now inside of the White House. It's now, President AOC in, a few years down the road, and she decides that she wants to start funding outdoor research and activities to combat climate change because the world's about to end, and something that you see on our website gets scaled up. One of the things that we could do, all of us, as a service in this moment in 2025, is to get informed on the truth. Whether or not, by the way, when the truth hits us in the face, we're happy with it. All that matters is that we deal with facts, and to also ensure that, and never, it's August 16th of 2025, it's a month from now, and some bonkers artificial intelligence video pops on social media and it starts going viral. Don't just assume that that's true, because there are attempts to play Americans, and it's really important that we're never duped by any of that.
And I know that you have to go. If you wouldn't mind, one more follow-up on this, and it's a very simple one, and it just comes from my inability to perhaps comprehend it. Why would the government ever allow any weather modification? Like, is God not good enough? I don't understand.
So there is proponents believe that we should be combating global warming by deflecting sun rays off of the Earth. That we should be, using clouds to be able to make sure that we're not getting heated here at Earth's surface. These are very simple points here in an interview as to what type of arguments get made. And then there are others who are just interested in the science and the research. And again, what you decide to do inside of a lab, inside of a university that is controlled is one thing, but starting to experiment by releasing sulfur dioxide out into the environment and just telling giving the middle finger to the American public and the U.S. government and saying we're just going to do it anyway, you can't stop us. Well, that's something that we all should have a problem with. Yes. And as far as the weather modification and the cloud seeding, arguments have been made that to combat droughts, to help with keeping farms and agriculture receiving the precipitation that is believed to be needed to keep the crops growing, that they feel that it's a good thing to pursue that cloud seeding. That, again, I'm just answering your question as to the arguments that I have heard in favor of it, as far as my positions and what we have heard as far as concerns here at the agency. Everything is down there at the website to sum up the concerns that we have.
Yeah. I remember this great documentary called The Matrix, where the human beings blotted out the sun and didn't end well, right? Like, yes. It just seems like out of a Hollywood movie plot, but it's actually real life, and you can actually find out. And I think you've taken the perfect approach, Mr. Administrator, in just being honest with the American public here. Here's the website once again, ladies and gentlemen, for you to go see this level of transparency from the EPA and Administrator Lee Zeldin. As the geoengineering website, and here's the URL right there, epa.gov. geoengineering. We appreciate your time. I have 50,000 follow-up questions. Hopefully we can book maybe a long-form interview on this, and we'll come up to DC and do another one, Mr. Administrator. Here's where you can follow Administrator Zeldin. 250,000 Americans follow him. Fight with the people who are fighting for you. Godspeed. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Benny.
I'm very honest about like what I know and what I don't know. And I'm never going to portend to you that I'm some type of really smart person. I'm a dude. Okay. And that stuff blew me, that kind of conversation like blew me away. It's crazy. Now I've seen Lee Zeldin and his posts on social media about it. He got a lot of praise for just being honest about it. By the way, I think that here's the arrival at the White House of world leader. Let's get the name of the world leader. Trump's going to do one of the famous world leader roundtables at the White House here, and take questions. So I'm sure that will be wildly entertaining. Here's the president greeting the leader. I know that some guys, I know some are roasting me in the comments. That's fine. We love you all. Forgive me. I don't study weather modification. I have not fully studied weather modifications. This is why we have a show, in order to talk to the experts. There we go. President Trump meeting the Crown Prince of Bahrain. The Crown Prince of Bahrain. Yep. And there they go. No audio yet. The president will be live inside of the Oval, and we will go to that. As President Trump taking questions these days is, as ever, quite newsworthy. Goodness, that interview, in my opinion, was newsworthy. My producers are telling me I'm getting roasted in the chat. Well, I apologize. I'm asking just honest questions. But listen, we have an EPA administrator that's looking the American people in the eyeballs and being like, "Yeah, we modify the weather." Okay, look. So I'm sorry. You're not going to please everyone all the time, but I think that's good. And we've been asking literally everybody, including the Speaker of the House yesterday, who's third in line for the presidency, about these major government cover-ups. And I think that this seems like a thing that's not being covered up, and I find that honorable, quite frankly. But either way, we enjoy. We can't be like here. We can't be like going on and on about how we how we're pushing back without listening to our chat as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, we understand. It's the Matrix. All right, producers, give me the breakdown of the chat. What was it? Were people angry? Are people angry at me for not? Are people angry at me because I have to stay locked in with the interview, so I can't read the chat? Are people angry at me for not asking the right questions on weather modification? Is that it? Or you don't care about weather modification? Is that it? You don't like weather modification? Well, neither do I. I tried to ask some pretty aggressive questions on it. I'm not an expert. I'll tell you that. I'll be honest with you. I don't like it. I think that they're putting toxins in our air, and those toxins are obviously going to travel down to our children. And I don't like that. But I'll never pretend to be, you haven't found me doing essays on it because I don't know. And I'll be honest when I don't know, and I'll bring on the experts to say it. Do you want more conversation about weather modification, or do you want less, right? Or would you like for me to ask more questions? I wasn't trying to go easy on them. I just think never in my lifetime, I'm almost 40 years old, never in my lifetime have I had a government official come out and being like, yep, we control the weather. That's kind of I find that to be at the very least honorable and transparent. So I don't know. I have just to let you know how much we love the chat. Not only do we have your chats on screen, except for during interviews because it would potentially cover the face of the person being interviewed. Not only have your chats on screen so that your voice is heard, but also we have producers monitoring the chat, monitoring for sentiment. So I'm looking at the producers to just say I'm looking at the producers to make sure that like you're heard, right? Or if we miss something, that you're heard. And so there it is. Obviously, the government controlling the weather is a hot topic issue, and people care greatly about. Well, we've made no shortage of international news on the Epstein topic over the last few days. You are inside of the only show that has talked to direct members of the Trump family and direct people in line for the presidency yesterday about Epstein, including a number of members of Congress. And we may have a few members of Congress joining our show today also to continue to talk about it. What I really want to get to the root of is, will we get a Ghislaine Maxwell testimony? And I asked that multiple times yesterday in Congress, but I want to really nail that down. There were multiple people who told me that they were, multiple very powerful members of Congress who told me they're totally in favor of that, including but not limited to the Speaker of the House. So there we go. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. I think, my take on the whole, I'll stop with this because, again, I'm not an expert on weather modification. I'm sure perhaps you are. Perhaps you're somebody who studies this a lot. And maybe you could ask, maybe we should do another, ALX, maybe we should reach out to Zeldin's team since he clearly wants to talk about this. And maybe we go back up and do a long form interview and we take questions from the audience and we bring those questions so that we get more knowledgeable questions. My take on this, why isn't God good enough? Really, the government's going to come in and control the weather? Is God not good enough? We don't trust God, right? To send the rain? On its face, this seems like an insult. Seems wrong, but a little old me, who knows? Ladies and gentlemen, there are some things you can't control in life. There are some things that you can. Where and how you invest your hard-earned American dollars and assets is something that you can absolutely control. Allio Capital is an app run by a company that loves this country and that loves taking advantage and seizing on the best technologies to make sure that you are invested wisely and that your investments are growing and that you can go about working your regular job, which I assume you're possibly not a day trader, and that you would like an AI and some really smart technology to manage from macro perspective your investments. I invested in Allio, and I just sort of did a trial run, and the AI has been incredible. It's called Altitude AI. It's a capital app that powers the investment strategies based on shifts in inflation, interest rates, global risk, weather modification, whatever. Then adapts your portfolio in real time. It's for hands-off and hands-on investors, depending on how you want to manage. For me, it's going to be very hands-off, okay? No good at this. Don't take me to the casino. You know what I mean? No crying in the casino. No crying in the casino. Buckle up, buttercup. So Allio helps guys like me. You can download Allio right now, App Store. Google Play, text Benny to 511-511. Text Benny to 511-511. Download the Allio app. Text Benny to 511-511. Investing does involve risk. No crying in the casino. Potential loss of principal. Past performance does not guarantee results. Consult your financial and tax professionals before investment decisions. See terms and conditions apply. Message and data rates also apply. And this is a paid advertisement by Allio Capital. All right. You know what? You gotta buckle up. Fascinating. All right. How do we proceed? President Trump's going to be live in the White House soon. We'll cover that. Victories. Thank God. GOP blows through second hurdle in order to get finally a legislative win for Doge. We are massive fans of Doge. We still have like a big heart for the Doge team and what they're trying to do. We really, truly wish that there was more. But what Doge was able to do, at the very least, with the criminal enterprise of Act Blue and USAID, is excellent. And now it's become law, or it's very close to it. It's all but law at this point, right? It's called a rescission package J.D. Vance had to go into the Senate in order to save this package, even though there's a 53-seat Republican majority. J.D. Vance had to go into the Senate in order to save it with his tie-breaking vote. But it passed, ladies and gentlemen. Let's read. Senate Republicans, again, coalesced behind Donald Trump's multi-billion-dollar spending clawback passage and propelled the legislation through to its final procedural hurdle with the help of Vice President J.D. Vance. Lawmakers will now go back and forth for 10 hours of debate on the bill, where the Senate Democrats are expected to bleed time and slam the legislation for cuts to foreign aid and public broadcasting. Trump's smaller $9 billion package passed with nearly all Senate Republicans. Guess who held out? Lisa Murkowski, who's opined about potentially changing her party. Susan Collins, who's barely a Republican. Mitch McConnell, obviously, who's in a wheelchair. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Once the debate wrapped on the bill, lawmakers will go through another vote-a-rama, where an unlimited number of amendments can be offered to the bill by either side of the aisle. Democrats will likely try and sideline or derail the package, while the GOP is expected to offer an amendment that would spare $400 million in international HIV funding. Okay. All right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. President Trump live in the White House. And interesting times, that is for certain. This is President Trump again with the leader of Bahrain. Do we have his name? What's his name? The Prince of Bahrain.
Well, it's a great
Crown
honor
Prince of
to
Bahrain.
have The
Here we
Prime
go.
Minister and the Crown Prince of Bahrain. That's a fancy two titles, I want to say. I don't know if I'd rather be the Prime Minister or the Crown Prince. I think I'd take the Crown Prince. And very importantly, your son, your beautiful son, who has a great reputation, you know that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Great reputation as a smart, hardworking guy. So it's good to say hello to you. Congratulations. We've had a tremendous relationship, I have personally, with Bahrain over the years. And has been a fantastic ally. And anything they needed, we helped them. And anything we needed, they helped us. And we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, including the most perfect military maneuver that anybody's seen probably in 50 years, which took place a few weeks ago, and Iran knocked out their entire potential nuclear capacity. And it was obliterated. You know, I used that term. They said, well, maybe that's too much. I said, no, it turned out it was more than obliterated. They can't go back. And we're just really going to talk about some things, including trade. We're going to be discussing trade. We do a lot of trading with Bahrain. And we're going to have lunch after this, but we'll take some questions. At first, I'd like to ask the Crown Prince to say a couple of words. And he also has a father who's living and well and doing fantastically, as I understand it.
He is.
And somebody who's respected all over the Middle East and all over the world. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to put into action the relationship that exists between our two countries. We will be discussing security issues. We'll be discussing trade and investment, which is very important. We're very happy to be announcing $17 billion worth of deals that are coming to the United States. And this is real. This isn't.
It's real money.
These aren't fake deals. These are real deals.
They don't have to borrow the money.
We don't have to borrow it. It's coming in. And it only builds upon a legacy that we're very proud of. We have had a relationship in the civil side between our two countries since 1893 and formally since 1948. So may it long continue, and we look forward to many, many more years of productive partnership. Thank you, Mr. President.
We will have
You
that.
honor us.
We will have that indeed. Many good years, and I'd say right now is your top year, and we appreciate the investment. It's a great. We left, as you know, Saudi Arabia. We were just there in Saudi Arabia, and Qatar was so great. Leaders great. We had UAE, and we had a couple of other visits, but all great places. And we left with $5.1 trillion of investment, and they all want to be investing in the United States.
Yes.
We have, I think we have over $16 trillion of investment coming in, which is a record, and we're only a little bit into the year. And let's say the first 2 months, I sort of took it easy because we had to fix up the Oval Office. I had to devote my time to fixing it up.
but now we had to fix up our country. So we have, I think everyone is saying we have the hottest country now anywhere in the world. We were dead a year ago. We are a dead country. And now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And it's a great honor to have you here.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Any questions?
Any comments on the developments in Syria at the moment?
Well, I can comment. I think I'll ask Marco to say a few words on Syria.
Yeah, it's complicated. Obviously, these are historic, long-time rivalries between different groups in the south west of Syria, Bedouins, the Druze community, and it led to an unfortunate situation and a misunderstanding, it looks like, between the Israeli side and the Syrian side. So we've been engaged with them all morning long and all night long with both sides, and we think we're on our way towards a real de-escalation and then hopefully get back on track in helping Syria build a country and arriving at a situation there in the Middle East is far more stable. So in the next few hours, we hope to see some real progress to end what you've been seeing over the last couple hours.
Mr.
President Jerome Powell, do you have plans, or if you're back considering firing Jerome Powell? And what's your justification if you're thinking about this to do this?
Too late. He's always been too late, hence his nickname, Too Late. He should have cut interest rates a long time ago. Europe has cut them 10 times in the short period of time, and we cut them none. The only time he cut them was just before the election to try and help Kamala or Biden, whoever the hell it was, because nobody really knew. Obviously, that didn't work, but he tried to cut them for the Democrats, Kamala. And how did that work out? You'll tell me. It didn't work out too well, did it? But I think he does a terrible job. He's costing us a lot of money. And we fight through it. It's almost, the country's become so successful that it doesn't have a big impact, but it does hurt people wanting to get a mortgage. People want to buy a house. He's a terrible Fed chair. I was surprised he was appointed. I was surprised, frankly, that Biden put him in and extended him, but they did. So, no, we're not planning on doing anything. We're very concerned. He's doing a little renovation for $2.5 billion of the Fed, building a renovation, and they have a close to $900 million cost overrun, and it's a shame. But the biggest cost overrun is the cost overrun for interest rates, because we should be paying 3 points lower, and we would save $1 trillion a year in interest if that were the case. And all it is the stroke of a pen. And that goes for his board too, because his board is not doing the job, because they should try and rein this guy in. So he's doing a lousy job, but no, I'm not talking about that. Fortunately, we get to make a change in the next, 8 months or so. And we'll pick somebody that's good, and we'll pick somebody. I just want a fair job. We want to see lower interest rates. Our country deserves it. We're making a lot of money. We're doing great as a country. We have no inflation, record stock market, record business, record everything. Everything's a record now. We had the worst inflation in history under Biden, and now we have almost no inflation. We've done a great job, and we should have the interest rates cut.
So you're saying that today that Scott Bessent, you're so happy with him at Treasury that he's not your top option to replace Jerome Powell whenever that may be, whenever you decide what you want to do with him.
Scott's doing a very good job. I'm very happy with Scott.
Is Kevin Hassett on the top of your list?
Kevin's somebody would consider. Kevin is fantastic too. We have a lot of good people for that job. It's not a tough job, to be honest. Assuming you're smart, it's not a tough job. If you're a dummy, then I guess it's a tough job. But it might be one of the easiest jobs I've ever seen. And now on top of it, he's building a close to $3 billion little nest egg for himself. He's not doing the right job. We should be saving $1 trillion a year in interest. When he talks about cost, we should be saving. Think of it, $1 trillion a year. Add that with the tariffs and everything else. But he just doesn't want. He's a knucklehead. But we'll see how that. We'll see how he's listening to this. That's a strange conversation. But we like to say it like it is. But we have a lot of people that want that job very badly. And I'm only interested in low interest people, frankly, because you don't need. I know. So they had the 71 different economists and people experts that they picked about a month ago. I was the only one, along with one person from maybe the Wharton School of Finance. The two of us got it right. 69 people, including Powell, got it wrong. And he wants to hire thousands of new people to help him decide where we're going in the future. It only takes one good mind. It doesn't take 5,000 good minds. So they're expanding the Fed. It's the dumbest thing I've heard of. But, you know, it's very autonomous.
Just to follow up on that, sir, are you completely ruling out the idea of firing Jerome Powell?
I don't rule out anything, but I think it's highly unlikely unless he has to leave for fraud. I mean, it's possible there's fraud involved with the $2.7 billion renovation. This is a renovation. How do you spend $2.7 billion? And he didn't have proper clearance, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, that's going on. So, you know, there could be something to that, but I think he's not doing a good job. He's got a very easy job to do. You know what he has to do? Lower interest rates.
Have you drafted a letter to send to Powell if you decide that you are going to fire him? Have you drafted a letter?
I haven't drafted a letter.
So you didn't show a letter to Republican lawmakers last night?
No, I talked about the concept of fire him. I said, what do you think? Almost every one of them said I should. But I'm more conservative than they are.
You consider
No, we did. We talked about it. In fact, we had 11 of the 12 people here yesterday, you know, for a very big bill having to do with crypto, et cetera, and other things. And all of the votes are going with us, every single vote. But during the conversation, when we were talking about it, I asked, what would you do about that? They all said we'd fire him.
Mr. President, thank you for taking my question, sir. You were in Pennsylvania yesterday. You unveiled $92 billion worth of investments. One of those jumped out, though, $15 billion in Homer City to build the largest natural gas power plant ever. I was at the rally where you told Homer City residents that you would not forget them when the biggest coal plant in Pennsylvania closed down. You delivered for them yesterday. What message do you have to those residents?
Well, I'm happy. Homer City, I was there and I said, I'm going to produce something, I don't know what, because they had shut down this massive coal plant, one of the biggest in the country. And it was just purchased by the gentleman that you met yesterday, very substantial man. I don't know if he's maybe not as substantial as you, I'm not sure, but he's pretty substantial. You know who I'm talking about. And they're going to spend billions of dollars on rebuilding it. And it's going to be the largest plant of its kind in the world, I believe, actually in the world. And it's going to be great. So we really fulfilled that promise to Homer City. But it's to Pennsylvania, basically. I won Pennsylvania and very conclusively won Pennsylvania. So I owe them a big debt of gratitude. But thank you for bringing that up. We raised 92. It's actually going over 100. So it'll be over $100 billion to be invested in Pennsylvania. It was Pennsylvania Energy Project. So we had, everybody was there. Larry Fink was there. I mean, everybody was there and done a great job. The senator did a great job. And we were very proud. That was a great meeting yesterday. Thank you very much.
Actually, for each of you, so for the Crown Prince, are you planning on taking any of the Patriot missiles that you're going to receive from the United States and divert those to help Ukraine?
We have no current plans as we have an operational requirement inside Bahrain to keep them there for the present time.
He's got plenty of them, too.
And Mr. President, on the fentanyl bill.
They're wonderful. They're wonderful pieces of kit.
They work very well.
American technology is the best.
Yep.
And on the fentanyl bill that you're
That's
signing.
maybe the most important part of this. He has his choice of everything. And we make the best military equipment by far in the
Bar
world.
none.
There's nothing close, right?
Bar none.
Yeah, thank you.
And on the fentanyl bill that you're signing today, do you hope that that's going to restart law enforcement cooperation with China on getting the fentanyl?
Yeah, I think China's been helping out. I mean, it's been a terrible situation for many years with fentanyl. But since I came here, we're talking to them, and they're making big steps. They're also, as you know, being penalized. You know that, right? They're being penalized with tariffs because of the fentanyl. But they want to do something. We'll see what happens.
Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, I know.
Please.
Thank you, Mr.
President. An American from Tampa was beaten to death. He was killed by Israeli settlers in the West Bank. His family has been calling on you to help prosecute his killers. Are you going to do that? An American from Tampa?
Yeah, your first sentence is really, go ahead.
An American citizen from Tampa, Florida, has been killed in the West Bank. His family has been asking on you to prosecute him. Are you going to help finding his?
Yeah, well, so first of all, have you seen yesterday, Ambassador Huckabee has asked the Israelis to conduct an investigation. We want to get all the information about who was involved. We protect all American citizens anywhere in the world, especially if they're unjustly murdered or killed. So we're gathering more information, but I hope you saw yesterday Ambassador Huckabee in Israel asked the Israeli authorities to produce an investigation and concrete information about who was responsible for his murder.
They're reporting that tomorrow. We have a meeting on it. They're going to be reporting that to me. Yeah.
Do you think that the Gulf area now is more secure? And do you believe that a negotiation with Iran is necessary at this stage?
Well, I definitely believe that the volatility of the situation has been reduced. And we didn't know where it was going to go on the Sunday. We were very glad when we found out on the Monday. Let me put it that way. And should the Iranians want to negotiate, I believe the ball's in their court. That is the true reality of where we stand today. They are the ones that stand to benefit from a negotiation.
And they do. They want to negotiate. They want to negotiate badly. We're in no rush because, we said we could have made a deal. They should have made a deal. And then we bombed the hell out of their various places. We're in no rush, but if they want to negotiate, we're here. Yeah.
Mr. President, I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen?
No, it's not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. Like in New York, we have a communist running. He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. Takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements, we've had a great gentleman. Yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including in the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, there's lots of reports coming into this meeting that you planned on firing Fed Chair Jay Powell. Markets
Is that right? Those are reports, but they're not true.
So what would be useful to know, are you committed to picking someone from the outside? Are you going to interview individuals that are
so
on
many
the board
people
right
that
now?
want that job. I have people that I've known a long time. They're calling me, begging for the job. You know what you need there? A smart person with common sense, but you need a very smart person for that job. I think it's one of the easiest jobs in government. You show up once a month and you make a statement about where the economy's going, and we're going to raise or lower interest rates. It's probably the easiest job I've ever seen. That's why I'm trying to figure, why does he want to expand and add more people? He's going to add more economists to tell him what to do. But the economists, I was right. All the economists were wrong. They admitted it. They admitted it this morning. Quiet. Go ahead.
Mr. President, you mentioned fraud in an earlier answer. Are you saying you want to investigate the Fed chair for fraud related to this renovation?
Well, I think he's already under investigation. He spent far more money than he was supposed to on rebuilding. I didn't see him as being the kind of guy that would want to have parks, rooftop parks and everything else on top of buildings, but who wants to spend that money for the Fed? The Fed is supposed to sit there and say where interest rates are going and a couple of other very easy things to do. And he spent $2.5 billion. I think he's got some problems.
Thank you, sir. You also reported a monthly surplus in the month of June, $27 billion.
$25 billion.
A ton of money with these new tariff rates coming into effect on August 1st, and we're bringing in even more tariff revenue specifically. How much revenue do you think we can consistently bring in from these tariffs? And how big of a game changer is this, not only for the economy, but also fiscal responsibility?
Well, we're going to be bringing in, already we've brought in over $100 billion. We'll be bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars. And the tariffs really haven't kicked in that much other than automobiles and steel. August 1st is a big day. August 1st is when very substantial money comes into our country. We've made deals with a lot of great places, but we had one yesterday, that was announced. We have another one coming up, maybe with India. I don't know. We're in negotiation. When I send out a letter, that's a deal. In other words, that's a deal. They don't want to ever say that. Oh, how many deals have you made? The best deal we can make is to send out a letter. And the letter says that you'll pay 30%, 35%, 25%, 20%, in one case 50%, Brazil. And because what they're doing to their former president is disgraceful. I know the former president. He fought like hell for the people of Brazil, that I can tell you. And I believe he's an honest man. I think what they're doing to him is terrible. So, we have some pretty good deals to announce, but every time we send out a letter, that's the deal. The big one really is going to be on the 150 countries that we're really not negotiating with, and they're smaller. We don't do much business with them. Because you have a lot of countries, you have over 200 countries, and a lot of people don't know this, but we'll have well over 150 countries that we're just going to send a notice of payment out, and the notice of payment is going to say what the tariff, and it's all going to be the same for everyone, for that group. They don't, they're not big countries, and they don't do that much business. It's not like the ones that we've agreed with, like China, like Japan, where we're negotiating with them, but I think probably we'll live by the letter with Japan. We're very close to a deal with India where they open it up. Indonesia yesterday it wasn't an open country, now it is. And they have tremendous copper, quality copper, and probably the most copper. And we made a deal with Indonesia. We pay no tariff, zero. And we have total access to trade. That's a phenomenal deal for our companies. And we've agreed with them, as you know, on 19%. They pay 19%. And it's a good deal for them, and it's a good deal for us in that case. But we have a number of them coming up. But overall, we're doing well, and we're taking in a lot of money, a lot of money. We have the number one, we have the most oil of any country in the world, even more than them, which is hard to believe. But we have a little larger piece of land, right?
Do, sir.
But we're number one in the world in oil, and we're drilling, and today it hit $64 a barrel, which is great. And that'll help stop wars, actually. If you want to know the truth, it's going to help stop wars. And we hope to get it down a little bit more. But we have oil down to $2, $2.25, $2.50 in numerous states. We hit one at $1.98 a gallon. And that's a great thing. That's one of the reasons that inflation's in check. When you can do that, you stop the inflation. What Biden did is he ended our policies, went to his policies. He doesn't have a policy. Some lunatic around the desk had a policy. Whoever operated the auto pen had a policy, which is, by the way, I think the biggest scandal. That's the scandal they should be talking about, not Jeffrey Epstein. The scandal you should be talking about is the auto pen, because I think it's the biggest scandal, one of them in American history. So the economy is doing really well, and people are seeing it. Yeah.
Will you ask Attorney General Pam Bondi to release more documents to finally put this controversy to bed?
Whatever's credible, she can release. If a document is credible, if a document's there that is credible, she can release. I think it's good. But it's just a subject. He's dead. He's gone, and all it is the certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats, and they're following a Democrat playbook. And no different than Russia, and all the other hoaxes. They're started by the Democrats, and some Republicans. In this case, I was surprised, but they got duped.
But have you talked about it with her last witness?
President, first of all, your high-ranking officials, whether it's been your FBI director or Pam Bondi, they have made some inconsistent statements in the past.
Well, I don't know. I can't speak about him, but I can say that Pam Bondi, I really think that she's done very good. She says, I gave you all the credible information. And if she finds any more credible information, she'll give that too. What more can she do than that? I mean, honestly, what more can she do? And we do have bigger problems. We have problems with millions of illegal people that came in here, and they're killers and murderers. We have 11,888 murderers that were allowed into our country by Biden, sleepy Joe Biden, stupid Joe Biden. He allowed them into our country. And you know what? We got to do something about it. She's got a lot of things she's working on. And, it's very sad that somebody can be waylaid, that just get waylaid, but I think she's doing a great job, President.
In your Truth section this morning, you mentioned past supporters when you were talking about the Epstein issue. Does that mean that you're effectively disowning any supporters who are now?
I lost a lot of faith in certain people. Yeah, I lost because they got duped by the Democrats. The Democrats are good for nothing. They've done a terrible job. They almost destroyed our country. If I didn't get elected, all these numbers you're hearing about, they found $25 billion and another 25 is coming in and hundreds of billions of dollars is pouring into our country. And we just got the biggest tax cut in history. We just got the biggest regulation cuts in history. There'll be no tax on tips. There'll be no tax on Social Security. There'll be no tax on overtime. There'll be no tax on so many other things. You're allowed to deduct your interest from a car payment. That's never happened before. You borrow interest, you borrow money to buy a car if the car is made in America. And by the way, factories are being built all over America, car factories, AI factories, but you get a deduction on your interest. Nobody ever thought of that before. It never happened before. And, these are the things that they should be talking about. The big, beautiful bill is one of the greatest pieces of legislation ever in this country, and the Democrats have nothing to combat it. So they say, oh, it's death. Oh, that's good. And then they give it to the fake news, which is you and a few others. And the fake news talks about the bill is death. The bill is actually life. The bill is life, and it saves our country. This bill is incredible. Look at the results already. So we have $16 trillion being invested in our country. And this great gentleman and his family just came in with another billions of dollars. And if he didn't like the country, if he didn't like where we were going, he's very smart. He'd come, maybe he wouldn't even come. I think maybe he wouldn't even come. You'd save your time. But because, it's one of those things. But if he didn't like where this country was, he wouldn't be investing billions of dollars in this country. But think of it, $16 trillion, more than has ever been even contemplated before. And we haven't even started yet. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the success. And the Democrats have nothing to show for what they do. They almost destroyed. They allowed 25 million people to come into our country, gang members, jailbirds, from all over the world, not South America, from all over the world. They allowed them to come into our country from mental institutions, insane asylums, just walk right through. They couldn't come into your country. They couldn't come into any country in the world except our country. And they came in from the worst places, gang members, drug dealers. They all came in. Turn it off, please. They all came in. And I'm doing something about it. We have it under check right now. We got rid of a lot of the murderers already. Some of them we put in our prisons because they're so bad we don't want to take a chance in putting them in a foreign prison, have them come back. But we've done a great job. Our country's in great shape. We literally have the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. And it's true what the king said, what a lot of people said. We were a dead country. 1 year ago, we were a dead country. We were laughed at all over the world. We had Afghanistan with that horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Look what happened with Russia and Ukraine. That should have never happened. Look what happened with Israel. That would have never happened. Hamas had no money. Iran had no money. There was no money to do an attack like that. All these things that happened that wouldn't have happened if you had good leadership. And that's what you should be talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Press.
It's another day in Paris.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Another day in paradise, Trump says. There's 4 Epstein questions in that round of questioning from the press. And I don't know what to say here, man, other than what we've already said on the show, which is that memo dropped by the DOJ is why we are talking about this. This was not like an Epstein show. We weren't doing deep dives on it. It was something we were concerned about, and it's something that we covered with regularity when there was information that was brought up. So much of that information brought up was by President Trump. And it's just an important thing to make sure that you're not living in bizarro world as a massive Trump supporter who has spent hundreds of thousands of hours on live streams, obviously advocating for these policies and these administrations, defending the administration. In fact, the most viral clips on the Epstein topic has come from this show because it's a winning topic, frankly. And we spent the entire first hour explaining why. And I wasn't planning on playing this clip, but, well, it's here, so why not? Donald Trump began his political career talking about Jeffrey Epstein. We'll just play it very quickly here. Like, bringing this into the public arena was President Trump. That's a matter of historic record. It's not up for debate. I'm saying that's a good thing. Like, yes, thank you for doing this. Donald Trump, it was 10 years ago, a decade ago, on stage, before anybody ever heard of Prince Andrew or Bill Clinton and Epstein Island. No one knew about those things. And Donald Trump's like, these people are monsters, and they deserve to be called out. And I'm running against one of the families who's totally implicated here, the Clintons. And this is what Trump said at the time.
Bill Clinton.
Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein.
You raised the question of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think
with
he's got a
Sean.
problem. I mean,
What do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool. So
Nobody ever heard of Bill Clinton on a predator island before Donald Trump brought it up, or Prince Andrew. And it's commendable because Donald Trump was right. Bill Clinton did go to that island. There's tons of evidence of that, including but not limited to the victim testimony. And of course, Prince Andrew paying 10 million plus pound sums in order to silence victims. I mean, Trump was telling us before anybody knew about this. So when I say that this is a problem of the administration's making, well, I mean, there's an enormous amount of evidence to back that up. We don't run a channel here to like talk nonstop about Epstein. It's certainly a topic that we cover along with thousands of other topics. But the DOJ memo that was released last Sunday forced the hands of people who cover the topics of import and note on the internet because people said, what the hell with this memo? Given the preponderance of clips and evidence, and here's an article where Jeffrey Epstein brags about being a CIA agent. Just one article. It's just one piece of example. And so, like, it's the point I'm trying to make here is that it's the administration and their handling of this, which is why everyone's talking about it. It didn't have to be handled this way. It's been abysmal, and people aren't satisfied, and that's what all available polling shows. And there's so much evidence that the government has that could be released to engage in the pressure release valve. Whether it's weather modification, JFK, Russiagate, as we have, I find it stingingly ironic. Thank you for that article. I find it stingingly ironic that Trump compares all of these things to these hoaxes, and the reason we know they're hoaxes is because evidence was released. I don't believe Trump is guilty of anything. I don't, because I know these monsters that had fought Trump and tried to put a bullet through his head on live TV. They would have released everything. If there was a single scintilla of incriminating evidence against Donald Trump in there, it would be out in the public. You know it. You watched it happen with the Access Hollywood tape, right? President Trump on a bus, some B-roll that never aired. President Trump's hot mic, right? They dug through everything. How many hundreds of thousands of hours did they dig through in order to get that clip? So you're telling me that they had Donald Trump in the Epstein videos or files or whatever, and that they held onto it because of their principled stance? Shut up. It's certainly not what I'm saying. But because of what I believe to most likely be an intel operation that the federal government doesn't want to give any more evidence of, they've already given an enormous amount of evidence that Jeffrey Epstein was an intel asset, that President Trump is being pushed to move on from this topic. And it's just a very different base, than our grandparents who were told, oh yeah, we just shot a president's brains out on TV and you can do nothing about it. It's just a very different audience. And so we didn't want to do a week of shows on Epstein. I had a lot of questions to ask the Speaker of the House that I thought were very interesting that you sent in. But of course, we're going to ask that one because it's what everyone's talking about. When we booked that interview, it's not like I went up there, before the DOJ memo. We would have never asked, maybe we would have asked Speaker Mike Johnson about Epstein, but would it have been at the very top of the list? Would it have made international news? Most likely not. As you know, if you follow this channel for a long time, it has been a topic that we certainly cared about and tried to handle honestly. Been asked about it for years. But the reason why we're talking about it now is 100% due to this memo right here that was released in the dark of night on a Sunday at 9:07 p.m., leaked to left-wing media to whitewash the entire operation and say, you're never going to get anything. It's officially closed. Shut up, move on. And that's just, that dog don't hunt anymore. And I don't know what to say. Power to the people is all I can say. Power to the people. The people want truth on this matter. Am I wrong, chat? People want disclosures and truth, and it's a pretty noble reason why they want it. The reason why is that we want to hurt and damage the pederasts and the predators. We want to ensure that we're not paying taxes to pedophile cults, and ultimately it's a class warfare issue. It's an opportunity for us to potentially grab a couple of them and throw them in jail, right? For their crimes, their constant and ceaseless and endless crimes against the working classes in this great nation, the honorable and dignified working classes in this great nation. And that's what it's about. It's about something way greater than the list. And the reality of the matter is, well, ladies and gentlemen, especially with press conferences like that, I don't see it going away. I don't see the pressure release valve getting hit on this issue for quite a while. And that makes me sad because it didn't have to be this way. This has been mishandled. And we've said it again and again and again. It spiraled from a PR crisis into now something just much broader and more culturally kinetic, right? You can feel it. So there you go. Stay up to date with all the breaking news on all of this and the functions of the functions of your government by locking in with Patriot Mobile today. The reason why I say stay up to date is because they are the cell phone service that is the backbone of this company. They keep us connected on the road, just like yesterday. We were recording videos on our phones, part of the previews, part of the promos, and it was Patriot Mobile keeping us locked and loaded at the Capitol with all of our mobile devices. If you're worried about your coverage, you shouldn't be. Patriot Mobile uses all 3 major U.S. networks. If you have service in the country today, you'll have even better service with Patriot Mobile. Think switching is a hassle? Nope. Their 100% US-based customer service team can get you switched and ready and locked in today. If you're stuck in another contract or you owe money on your phones, no worry. Patriot Mobile has a contract buyout program. This is how we win, folks, by aligning our spending values. That's for sure. Make sure that every dollar matters. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny and call 972-PATRIOT. Use promo code Benny to get a free month of service. Switch today. patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I guess we're just gonna let it be what it's gonna be, right? We'll see how the cards were. We'll see where the chips lie. It's not up to me, sadly. We're doing what we can do, and we're honoring our audience, and that's what's most important. We're connecting with our audience, and we're honoring you. We're respecting you. Ladies and gentlemen, some people may want to plead the fifth. Just a little bit of breaking news here. Jill Biden's work husband just pled the fifth inside of the House as they dodged questions about the cover-up probe of Joe Biden's health. Is there anything not being covered up in D.C.? Like that's the problem. It's going to just shadow all the other incredible work. This is James Comer, who was on our show yesterday, talking about what was happening with Anthony Bernal, is the dude's name. This is the breaking news out of Washington, non-Epstein related. Here we go.
The Hill, Anthony Bernal was one of the lead assistants with Jill Biden during her time as First Lady. He was responding to a subpoena to answer questions behind closed doors. And apparently a moment ago, he took the fifth. James Comer, Republican out of Kentucky, leading up this investigation into the auto pen et al. And this is what Comer said a moment ago.
Well, unfortunately, that was quick. This is the second witness that we've brought in via subpoena for a deposition that has pled the fifth, and they've stated they're not going to answer questions. I want to read the first 2 questions. Just so everyone knows, these are the types of questions we ask. Was Joe Biden fit to exercise the duties of the president? He pled the fifth. Second question, did any unelected official or family member execute the duties of the presidency? And this is Joe Biden's chief of staff.
A former senior advisor is Anthony Bernal. So he took a similar tack that the doctor, the physician for Joe Biden, took last week. What was interesting about the testimony from last week is that we all thought it was confidential behind closed doors, but in the evening they released the videotape of him saying, on advice of my counsel, I'm not going to answer that question. So we'll see whether or not there's a video that's produced from this testimony that
all right,
probably, I guess you could say, did not.
Okay. In order to have a functional government and a functional country, there has to be some level of trust with the American people, the majority of the American people, that's you, the majority of the American people, and those who govern them, and the functioning bodies and institutions that govern the country. And that's what we're trying to establish. Nobody had any faith that Joe Biden was alive, as you can see there. And that led to a disaster of a presidency, without question, one of the worst presidencies of anyone's lifetime. And we want there to be, trust with the Trump administration, and that's what we're calling for. That's why we keep covering this, and that's why we won't stop. It's an act of truly understanding this moment and what people care about. That's what we're here for. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to give you hope and faith. Remember, as we have said many, many times on this program, don't find that in a political party. Don't find that in men. It's always fool's gold. Don't find it in anything other than our Lord and Savior, Christ Jesus, and in our scriptures, ladies and gentlemen, today from Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold peace. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. You can always tell the people who are locked in because they are actually peaceful. Sure, I know that I bring a lot of energy, but to tell you what, man, I sleep like a baby at night. I read my Bible, I get down on my knees and I pray, and I acknowledge that there is a God that is greater than me and greater than all of this, and that God wants to bring light unto the world and not darkness, salt and light. And that's what we're trying to be on this program. Thank you for marching with us. Remember, no matter what, in the end we win. All right? So take that into your hump day. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Benny. See ya.
Hey, 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 guess what day? Guess what? Guess what day? Hey, 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 guess what day? Guess what? Guess what day? Guess what? No list, guess what? No arrest, as if a million QAnon cried out in terror and suddenly silenced. But guess what? Guess what day it is? It's hump day. Hey, 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 guess what day? Guess what? Guess what day? Hey, 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 guess what day? Guess what? Guess what day?
The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings, and their dying legacy, media deal reads. Soon will the Benny Show come to mind, assault from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for #1. Show come to mind, assault from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for #1. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest king.